here at Game Lab 2015 there is a lot of type of games. We've been seeing indie games from different genres, there is AAA games from different genres, and there's also some casual games. And that's why we're here talking to Juan. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So what's Joju Games about?
Joju Games is a casual game development studio. We started 10 years ago. Actually, June of 2015 is our 10th year anniversary.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. We started the studio with the intention of producing all kinds of casual games. My background is in online gaming. I started working at Yahoo Games 15 years ago. And my specific goal was to create games that anybody can play. So back in the day, we didn't have smartphones. Mobile phones were really small and low powered. So most of the development was done for PC games or games that you could play in your web browser. And then as smartphones became more popular, it's now the predominant platform. Most casual gamers play on a mobile phone rather than on the PC. And that has expanded the market 20 times because of the fact of the ubiquity of the mobile phone.
So what are you doing right now, these days?
So we're building mobile games for other people. We're working with DreamWorks on a game right now. We work with other publishers, video game publishers who commission us to make games for them. And we also develop our own games. There's a continuous production of independently developed games.
So you've mentioned DreamWorks, and there's also MTV, Atari, Nickelodeon, Dena.
Right.
Those are really different companies. Which kind of products they ask you to make?
So in the case of media companies or movie studios like DreamWorks, they ask us to produce casual games. Most of the time we produce puzzle games. One example is we had to produce a puzzle game based on Wicked. Wicked is the most popular Broadway musical of all time. And 3 years ago, we developed Wicked the game. It's available for iOS, Android, PC, even today it's still popular and we still maintain it, creating new features, new levels, and we're really proud of that game.
How is it played?
So it's a puzzle game in which you have a maze and you have to find the exit by playing a match 3 mechanic to get a liquid across the board. And there's all these different types of obstacles that you have to beat by either matching over adjacent or matching other places where there are keys that allow you to unlock other areas.
How would you define the whole casual games genre, and how do you think you can find success and exposure with such an expansive offer out there?
Okay, so defining the casual gaming genre is mostly defining the level of interaction or the level of commitment that you have over the game. Basically, the game design specifically is done so you can decide if you can play just for 2 minutes, or you can stick with the game for hours. But you always take 2-minute increment levels, so that way you can get out. You can feel a better sense of control versus a AAA game where just a cutscene might be 20 minutes. So the casual games at the end of the day are all kinds of genres, but they have a low level of commitment from the player. So that would be one thing. And in terms of exposure, which was the other part of the question, today is really hard. There is a consolidation of publishers in the casual gaming space. You see King, you see Supercell, and I don't expect that to change much. I think it's going to still continue, but every so often there is a game created by an independent game maker which really rises to the top, and that's Crossy Road. So we still have opportunities as independent game makers. We just need to navigate through the maze of games being released every day.
So with this kind of mechanics you just defined, do you think there's already a disconnection to the more enthusiast player?
I think the more enthusiast player, so it's an issue of depth, of how much depth is in the game itself. I think a player who's really looking to craft to really create a more deep experience in a game will not really choose a casual game for his main gameplay activity, but might choose a casual game to play on the train. So at the end of the day, casual games are going to become more prevalent than AAA games. You see, for example, on the earnings report, King is bigger than Nintendo now. So it was just a question of time. It's really a question of numbers. There's a lot more people in the world who will be interested in playing a casual game rather than a AAA game.
So now that you mentioned that, where do you think the casual gaming is heading next, like in 10 years?
So I personally think that technologies are helping us overcome certain levels of layers of interface. I think the touch phone has allowed us to create interactions with the game that were not possible before. We have eliminated the joystick, which is the best thing ever. I really don't like even though I'm really good at playing with the gamepad, I really don't like the gamepad. I prefer a touch-based screen. So my hope is that we get to touch-based boards. I personally feel that casual players or the mass audiences are going to be delighted when they can play with other people on a table. And I'm really looking forward to start using 27 inches screens that can be just laid on the board and a multi-touch, and it can be played by a lot of people. And I would love to design games for that.
Okay, that sounds interesting. And you also mentioned Nintendo. Now that you mentioned Nintendo, and you've worked with Dena, of course, and they both signed this agreement for getting Nintendo games onto mobile phones. Right. What do you think about that?
I think it's great. I mean, I think it's a necessity for Nintendo to evolve. They have done a pretty good job over the years creating hardware that was more accessible. I mean, let's just face it, Wii Sports is one of the best creations that the game industry has produced in the past 10, 15 years. So I do believe that the transformation of them into a publisher that can produce games for other platforms besides their own is going to be key for their survival. I do believe that buying a specific hardware is going to be a thing of the past. It's just a niche. It's really, at the end of the day, it's a niche market. You have to make, like, if you think about movies, do you have to specifically buy one particular brand of DVD to play a movie? No. They are available on anything. They are available on streaming. They are available on TV. We need to come up to get to that point where games are available on the device that the player uses, not forcing the player to buy a particular device to actually play a game.
That's all about casual games, but I think you also feel comfortable in this kind of conference environment. You've been taking part with the GDC, the Indiecade, Tokyo Game Show. What's your role and involvement in those kind of projects?
So for each conference I do different things, but specifically for Indiecade or Tokyo Game Show, I participate in their independent game festivals. So in other words, I'm very interested in gameplay innovation. I'm very interested in seeing that those game makers who are trying to push the envelope, who are trying to come up with something new, get the recognition they need. So that's what independent game festivals are about. So Indiecade is a festival that is hosted in Culver City in Los Angeles every October, and it's also hosted in New York every February. And the idea of Indiecade is to have a festival where the press and the public can come and see very interesting games that otherwise would not have the recognition. The same thing is for the Sense of Wonder Night event at Tokyo Game Show. Tokyo Game Show is a massive event where 200,000 people go and they see the games from Sega, Capcom, from Konami, from all the different big publishers, but there's really it's just a small space for independent game makers. By having a show, which is the Sense of Wonder Night, the show is broadcasted over the internet, and I'm part of the judges who select which games we're going to showcase during that show. And it's a fantastic experience. It's fun.
Okay, thank you, Juan, for your time. Enjoy Game Lab.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.